So in order to make this block, the four corners of this whole block, you're going to have this 3.5 inch square, and then you're going to have 2 inch squares that you are going to use to do what's called a stitch and flip corner method. And in order to do that, you need a line drawn corner to corner on the 4 squares that you're going to use to do your stitch and flip corners. Now, you can use a little guide on your sewing machine to keep this lined up straight. But if you're going to use a ruler, then I put my piece of fabric on a piece of sandpaper. This is fine grade sandpaper. I just have 2 pieces glued inside of a file folder. And that way, it holds that fabric, it doesn't move around, and it doesn't stretch. And I will put my ruler where it's just inside or to this side of the corners. Let me see if I can get a close-up of that. Okay, you can see how that's just to the side of the corner. And that will give me, that gives me the turn of the cloth when I stitch. Now, if it's a white square, you can use any kind of pencil to mark that. And when you mark it, since you've been put your ruler just to the side of that corner, you will have your line right on the corners. Now, if you're using a darker square, which I will use one dark square, my favorite tool is this Sew Line Trio, and I love it because in the same pencil there is a black, a pink, and a white lead. So I can mark almost any color fabric with this pencil. And I'm going to try the pink and see, and again, I'm just doing it right to the side of that. Whoop. Okay, I've got it just to the side. And the sandpaper makes it easier to draw the line. And so you can see my line that's from corner to corner there. And then what we're going to do, the instructors are going to tell you to have your 3.5 inch square, your 2 inch squares, and you're going to line that up where the corners are perfectly lined up. And you're going to stitch, and instead of stitching right straight on that line, I would stitch just a thread to the side of that line. And you do that all the way across, just like this. Let's see, there we go. From corner to corner. Now, oh, here we go. We'll just go back to this one. You're going to stitch from this corner to this corner, just to the side of that line. And then you'll press that out towards the corner. I always press it, and then I check, and this one has already been sewn, but I press it out there, and then I make sure that it's even all the way around. Then I will flip this back, and I trim that 1/4 inch away from the seam, and that's your square number 1. Then you're going to do the same thing again, going around. You'll put another square on here, and you're going to stitch right to the side of that line, and that will give you this. So you've got the first one, and it's all pressed. This one you've stitched. You're going to flip it back and make sure everything fits before you go inside here and trim this 1/4 inch away. So we have this one where you've stitched and pressed it. You put another square there. Then you end up with this. You press it Go inside, and if you want to, you can stitch a 1/2 inch away from this, cut in between at the 1/4 inch, and you'll have a tiny, tiny little half square triangle if you want to make miniature quilts. But you do that, and then you'll put one more and press it, make sure it's right, and then trim that off. And then we're going to do the darker colored one, and you just want to be sure that you line up those corners, and then you're going to stitch from here to here, just to the side of that pink line, and then you'll press it back like that. Now, when you're doing this, you're stitching and you're sewing, this is correct. This is your seam allowance here when you start to put this to the block next to it. So don't think, oh, what have I done wrong? That's the way it's supposed to look. And when this is all finished, I will show you the block, and it will be a 3 1/2 inch square.